That is one hard line. I bear the gift of death. This is the guy that put a robot arm on himself after it got cut off, right?
It is the purest folly to believe that an individual can save Armageddon. Wars are not won by
Armageddon's
heroes.
a planet, right?
They are won by firepower and force.
Someone please put it down in the comments.
And the application of strategy and tactics.
No luck. Sebastian Yarrick. Alright.
The rank and file of the Imperium.
So, it seems like they're the polar opposite, or at least Sebastian Yarrick is the opposite of Kane. He looks like a hardcore fundamentalist, or he sounds like a hardcore fundamentalist.
Imperium's armies are often overlooked when comprising the histories and glories of his Imperium. For his angels of the Adeptus Astartes are synonymous with glorious combat and the embodiment of the Emperor's will.
The Emperor's will.
Yet for every Space Marine battalion or chapter's glory, the lives and contributions of millions of humanity lay the foundation for their triumph.
Yep.
And for a rare few,
Guardsmen lead
their
the way.
renown transcends even the legends of the Astartes. Few more so than the Commissar of the Armageddon Steel Legion and hero of Hades' Hive, Sebastian Yarrick. Born on Taos Free,
You guys notice there's a shift in the commentary, or there's a shift in the storytelling. I mean, our Aussie was definitely more humorous, whereas this one, it feels like we're reading off of a drilling manual or a propaganda manual. I mean, he is an iterator? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sebastian Varden. The young Sebastian would be orphaned at the age of 7.
Of course he would be.
Raised by his grandfather in a small community close to the Hive city, New Caden. Sebastian would endure the training regimens of his grandfather. A retired veteran of the astramilitarum, Sebastian's grandfather's 3-year tutelage would be spent teaching his grandson how to fight, conceal his presence, and lay traps for his enemies. Skills which would prove critical for his survival during an invasion of orcs on his homeworld of Taos Free.
So he was well prepared for it.
Hiding from the larger orcs, Sebastian would lay traps for the Gretchens, killing them once ensnared and foraging for food when possible. After several months of the invasion, an Imperial relief flotilla would arrive in orbit of the planet. The astramilitarum would be deployed and face the orcs, with one patrol encountering the 10-year-old boy bereft of a family.
Oh, okay, his grandpa was already
Adopting
gone.
his deceased grandfather's name, Yarrick, Sebastian would be taken to the Imperium Schola Progenium, the Adeptus Ministorum Education Center, specializing in the training of military leaders and elite soldiers of the Imperium. Learning the Orc language in his spare time.
Wait, is the Progenium, wait, did they call it the Progenium? Oh, wait, let's get
encountering the 10-year-old boy bereft of a family. Adopting his deceased grandfather's name, Yarrick, Sebastian would be taken to the Imperium Schola Progenium.
How far is the Schola Progenium from his planet? Because we talked about this before, right? You're from planet A, you were sent in to conquer planet B, and now you're on your way to planet C. Logistically impossible to wait for replacements or to send back the wounded. So, is that, I mean, is the Progenium in Terra? Can someone please put it down in the comments?
The Adeptus Ministorum Education Center, specializing in the training of military leaders and elite soldiers of the Imperium. Learning the Orc language in his spare time from a human raider whom had once been imprisoned by the Greenskins on the world of Varun, Yarrick would resolve to understand his mortal enemies, all the better to enable him to crush them under his boot. With his graduation and promotion to the rank of Commissar, Yarrick would fight and lead regiments of the astramilitarum in dozens of war zones, serving alongside regiments of men from far-flung worlds such as Necromunda, Luther McIntyre, and finally Armageddon. Yarrick would be regarded as one of the foremost experts on facing the Orc Xenos due to his relentless drive to exterminate them, coupled with his deep understanding of their language, customs, and tactics. Set to retire after rebuilding the tattered remnants of the 4th Armageddon Steel Legion Regiment, Yarrick's retirement would be interrupted with the Orc invasion of the planet. Heralding the infamous Second War for Armageddon. Relegated to the hive city of Hades by the inept planetary governor Hermann von Straub, as the world's astropaths sent messages for aid, the astramilitarum regiments and defenses of Armageddon would collapse. Refusing to stand idle as the planet fell to ruin, Commissar Yarrick would assume command of the defense forces of Hades and inspire them to fight for their city. So vicious was the Steel Legion's zeal, they would push back the Orc hordes, drawing out the invasion's war boss, Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Fraka, to take to the field personally.
Okay, so it was that bad.
Denying the Orc war boss's attempts to outmaneuver, cripple, and drain the hive of its resources, the battle for Hades' hive would be characterized as a battle between the two imposing leaders of war. With the end of the war drawing near, with the arrival of the Blood Angels chapter of Adeptus Astartes, under the command of Chapter Master Dante, Yarrick would distract and halt the Orcs' invasion of his post. In an attempt to overrun the hive, Ghazghkull would send his lieutenant Orc warlord, Uglhard, to lead his horde and engage Yarrick's forces. Yarrick and Uglhard would duel in single combat, severing Yarrick's right arm at the elbow with his power claw. The war boss's victory would appear imminent, and against any normal man of the Imperium, this would be so. Yet Yarrick would stubbornly counter his enemy with a swing of his chainsword at the Orc's neck. Severing the warlord's head from its body, Yarrick would cleave its power claw from its arm. Brandishing it aloft, the Imperial defenders of Hades' hive would strike the Orcs, driving them from the hive as they cowered in terror in the presence of their now legendary foe. News of Uglhard's death would spread like wildfire amongst the greenskins, sowing the seeds of terror amongst the hordes which Yarrick would exploit by attaching the warlord's power claw as a prosthetic limb. The Orc superstition of Yarrick's so-called evil eye, leading the Commissar to replace his left eye with a pulse laser bio-implant. Donned in his carapace armor, fitted with an inbuilt fusion reactor to power his massive claw, and projecting a conversion field to prevent small arms fire from adding.
So, most stories that I've heard or that I've encountered, he simply attached it without any of this hullabaloo.
More scars to his flesh. Yarrick truly is a man whom could kill his enemies with a glance. The Orc legend of Old Bale Eye was now a reality. For 6 solar months, Yarrick would defend Hades' hive, with historians of the Administratum regarding Sebastian Yarrick's actions as the sole bulwark against the Orc hordes, revivifying his forces time and again until the reinforcements of the Space Marines and Imperial Guard could muster a counterattack to push the Orcs back from the conflict. With the Second War for Armageddon won in the name of the Imperium, Yarrick would retire and tend to his wounds incurred from the months of battle. Accepting the duty of training a facility on Armageddon, Yarrick would grow restless during the months of his inaction in prosecuting the hunt for the Orc war boss, Ghazghkull. Reporting back for duty, Yarrick would vow to not rest until the day he would hunt down and kill Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Fraka. Pursuing his nemesis for 10 standard years, Yarrick would hound Ghazghkull's forces. In an attempt to break the deadlock, Yarrick would force the Orc war boss to land on the planet of Golgotha. Appearing to commit his forces to open battle, it would be here that Ghazghkull would make his last stand, or at least, that would appear to be what would happen, as Yarrick would be ensnared by Ghazghkull's trap. Pincered between 2 Orc wars on the planet's surface, the Imperial Navy in orbit of Golgotha would be attacked by a vast space hulk under the command of the war boss. With the Imperial forces decimated by the Orcs, despite their valor and defiance, Yarrick would be captured by the war boss. Awakening on the Orc space hulk, Yarrick would find his power claw and bio-implanted eye removed. Shackled in chains above a great pit, Yarrick would be plunged down into the chute below amongst the laughter of the Orc spectators. Sebastian would land amongst the refuse of the space hulk and fend off rabid squigs scavenging amongst the debris. Salvaging the massive quills from the dead squigs, Sebastian would build a ladder to ascend the waste chute. After several days of toil, Sebastian would escape the pit, only to find Ghazghkull waiting for him at its peak. Ordering his men to throw Yarrick amongst their human slave prisoners, Ghazghkull would further test his greatest enemy's resolve. Quickly organizing the human slaves,
Nice.
Yarrick would see to the mapping of the Space Hulk's patrols and guard shifts. Despite Yarrick's intent to destroy the ship's crude temple, devoted to their piggish gods,
Heresy.
the slave laborers would convince the Commissar to instead storm the Space Hulk's communications deck to send a distress signal to the Imperium and, with luck, escape. Reluctantly, Yarrick would agree to the plan. The human slaves would sabotage a large ammunition dump aboard the vessel, and in the confusion, Yarrick and his ramshackle squad would attempt the escape. Finding their potential escape vessel inoperable,
There's always that quandary when you're with friends. Either you have to decide to fight or you have to decide to escape. Like, you're walking around with the boys and you get jumped. The problem was that it's going to result in a loss because of the element of surprise, but in order to be effective, as far as my experience would tell me, because what happens usually is if you get jumped, 50% would be running, 50% would be fighting. And either way, it's going to result in a loss or it's going to result in a beatdown. So he was convinced to actually run instead of fighting.
the humans would fall back to Yarrick's plan to storm the Orc Temple. Fighting their way to their target, the humans would discover that instead of a temple, they had stormed the Hulk's bridge.
Nice.
As the humans sacrificed their lives to allow Yarrick to assault the bridge, killing the orcs inside, Yarrick would activate every system of the Space Hulk. His intention, to tear the vessel apart with the stress of so many uncoordinated functions. Seeing his destruction unfold outside the bridge's viewport, Yarrick would prepare himself for his demise. His last act to destroy the orcs enough to satisfy his hunger for vengeance. Yet Commissar SEBASTIAN Yarrick would not die amongst the collapsing Space Hulk.
Okay.
Days later, Yarrick would regain consciousness, finding his power claw and bionic eye refitted and dressed in his uniform.
Oh.
Yarrick would be greeted upon exiting the chamber by the cheers of hundreds of orcs. As they parted before him, Yarrick would follow an escort of orcs to meet war boss Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Fraka within the nearby launch bay.
What's going on?
Standing beside an intact shuttlecraft, Ghazghkull would step aside from Yarrick's means of escape, stating to the Commissar that good enemies is hard to find. Ghazghkull would allow Yarrick to escape the Space Hulk and return to Armageddon, warning him to prepare Armageddon's defenses, for soon Ghazghkull's war to reclaim Armageddon would commence. Resolving to destroy the orcs before they could attack Armageddon, Yarrick would link up with nearby Adeptus Mechanicus military forces. Beseeching them to kill the orcs, the Mechanicus would aid Yarrick in purging the Xenos. Bringing to bear their titans in Skitarii, the Mechanicus would also uncover the long-buried Golgotha Ordinatus platform beneath the planet's surface. Successfully routing the orcs, Ghazghkull would nonetheless escape once more. With the planet of Golgotha briefly in the hands of the Imperium, Yarrick would return to Armageddon to prepare for the oncoming Orc War 2 weeks before they would attack. And on the 50th anniversary of the dawn of the Second War for Armageddon's inception, Ghazghkull would return, initiating the third and currently last war for Armageddon. Learning from his failures and mistakes, Ghazghkull would unleash the largest Orc War seen in Imperial records.
It's the showdown.
Commissar Yarrick would assume overall command of the planet's military, ordering all Imperial aircraft to destroy as many orcs as possible before their land assaults could begin. Yarrick would be unprepared for the landing fortresses composed of hollowed-out asteroids known by the orcs as rocks.
Of course they're called
Alongside
rocks.
regiments of Cadian shock troopers, Steel Legionnaires, Astartes, and other Imperium forces, Yarrick would defend Armageddon and its hive cities. After months of battle, Ghazghkull would once again retreat, though this time, Yarrick would not hesitate in his pursuit. Accompanying the Black Templar fleet commanded by High Marshal Helbrecht, Yarrick would set out to bring his nemesis to heel.
And it once
Finally
and for
catching
all.
their charge, Yarrick and Helbrecht would be unable to disable the Orc War Boss's flagship, Killwrecker, during the Battle of Haunted Gulf. Escaping through the warp, Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Fraka would once again slip through Yarrick's grasp. For the Orc War Boss now assembles his final great war in his quest to reclaim his ancestral homeworld of Ulanor and crush the Imperium. Though when the prophet of Gork and Mork returns, the hero of Hades' hive shall stand to face him, his eternal nemesis, ready with claw and bolter to end the orc's reign of terror, bloodshed, and savagery, once and for all.
Where can I find
I
it?
have followed you too
This
far
animation.
to fail now. Gazgul Fraka.
Gasco
I
Fracka.
bear the gift of death.
That is one hard line. I bear the gift of death.
You cannot outrun me. There's no place in this universe where you can hide.
There is no
I have
shelter
waited
from the
a
storm.
long time for vengeance. I'm tired, but not so tired I cannot kill you. Maybe then I won't see the faces of the dead. Maybe then I'll be able to sleep.
Find peace.
This has been a tale of the great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. Yarrick is a symbol of humanity's will, proving that even mortal men can ascend to the admiration and renown of even Anastartes. Regard yourselves in this way as subjects of the Imperium,
Hooah.
for you too are capable than more than you can imagine, for you share the same spark of humanity's resolve.
That was awesome. Thank you for watching, guys. Now you all know the drill. Please like, share, subscribe, and do the whole notification button thing. It would really help me out with the algo. Now, if you want me to check out other stories, please let me know in the comments. We upload on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we go live on Twitch every Friday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Links of the original videos are down in the description. Please check them out, and class dismissed.